Came from the ground up just like I'm a lettuce. Taking a win and I know you gon' let us. We making the cut up, we came with propellers. I don't play tennis, no back and forth and no arguments. Can't I be passive, I'm dominant. I play aggressive like Dominique, dunking the ball like I got me a problem with it. All rise, look to the sky, see the power that keeps me alive. Yeah, I'm on. I was in my zone. Yeah, we going hard for the lead. Knowing the best stuff in the league.
Flag me up, guys!
Welcome to Training Camp Report presented by Advent Health. Casey Phillips here with senior writer and editor Scott Smith, back at it after a day off. I know it's for the players. We enjoyed it as well.
It fell on a Saturday.
Saturday, which is awesome. And today is a great day to be at camp. It is Junior Bucs Day. We also have Nickelodeon out here, which is going to be amazing. And there's a chance a player is going to get slimed after practice. So you're going to want to stay tuned to all of the Bucs coverage of that to see who it is and how they handle it. We're also going to have an incredibly special guest in the second segment. Gerald McCoy is going to be joining us, so make sure you stick around for that. So yes, first of all, let's get into this idea of they had the day off. Tell us a little bit about why that was the day, how the schedule works, and what Coach Bowles' thoughts are about that.
Yeah, old school Buck fans might be surprised that the players had a day off after 3 practices because they used to go about 2 weeks before a day off in the old days. This is a much better system, much better for the players in terms of their health and the roster health by the time you get to the regular season. And that's what Coach Bowles was talking about on Friday before they went off. They go 3 days on, 1 day off, and I think pretty sure that's NFL mandated at this point, but Coach likes it because he thinks it gets you closer to a healthier roster at the end of it all. But it also is probably why Mike Evans and Levante David got their first vet days off on Friday, because putting them there means they get 2 days off in a row.
Yeah, which is a really great plan. And then I know that Coach Bowles has also talked a little bit about Baker. We, of course, have talked about him each show, as we should, and just how great he's looked, how great the chemistry looks. And, of course, we'd also talked about how he's a little bit slimmed down this year. We saw him use his legs a little bit at practice.
That's right, ran in for a touchdown.
Ran it in for a touchdown, which, of course, all touchdowns count in training camp. So tell us a little bit about—
They're all very real.
They are all very real. And so tell us a little bit about what you've seen from Baker and what Coach Bowles said about him.
Well, as Coach said, Baker was in a groove those first 3 days, which is good to come out firing. We've talked about this before. Oftentimes the defenses are ahead at this point, and this is particularly true considering they're implementing a new offense. They've had some months to work on it in the offseason, but apparently the retention of what they learned in the offseason has been very pleasing to Coach Bowles and has allowed them to get off to a fast start. Now, I think we saw quite clearly that on Wednesday and Thursday, the offense was doing very well, particularly in some red zone drills on Thursday. Friday, I think you could tell it was a little less. Maybe the defense was catching up a little bit. There was a bunch of missed throws. But according to both Coach and Baker, even though Friday wasn't quite as good, the process was still good. The operation, as they say, was good. So the balls were coming out in rhythm. He was throwing to where he was supposed to be throwing. He was getting through his reads. So even though maybe it wasn't the most accurate day for the quarterbacks on Friday, they still felt good about the progress they were making.
Yeah, and like we said, they found some ways to get it done. I think we have the highlight here of Baker's scramble. Like we said, QB1 got wheels, as it says. He was pretty fired up about it, too.
And a little bit of a high step in there at the end, and I think they did some of those jump.
The jump celebration with Kate Otten. I love it. They're here for it, and I love to see them fired up even in the days of camp, just to practice, which is pretty awesome. And, of course, we also have the family out watching. The daughter gets to see the first touchdown. It was friends and family day out at camp. There were babies everywhere. It's amazing. There was something in the water at Advent Health Training Camp.
That's what Baker said.
It's amazing. It's so cool watching all of the guys out there with their kids and their families and getting to hang out together. And it's just so cool to see. That's such a cool bonding moment for all of them to go through. And we've, of course, seen it with Baker and Tristan and know how tight they are. Kate Otten had one out there and a lot of kids out there. And, of course, Sterling Shepard, there was a really cool video of him scoring a touchdown and going and kissing his kids that were in the tent at that end zone. So, that just worked out.
Good job, camera guys.
Incredible. Yes, it was amazing that we got that. So if you haven't seen it, go and check out the Buccaneers Instagram and some other places.
There was something even better that Baker said, that I liked even more.
Tell me.
So he said, he basically started the quote, because they're talking about how he's here now, he's settled in. He started the quote saying, has my NFL career gone the way I wanted it to? No. But it brought me to where I am now, and I have this long-term deal. And then he said, I'm settled in, and when I get settled in, good things happen.
Ooh, I like that.
I think basically he's saying last year was good. It was a nice resurgent year for him, but now he's
settled in.
This could be even better, and that's what every Buccaneer fan should want to hear.
Yeah, that's incredibly exciting. So what are some of the other takeaways for you, maybe especially on the defensive end? We talked a little bit about Baker and the offense, but you mentioned it felt like the defense maybe caught up a little bit or had themselves a day. So what were a few of the things that you saw in the last practice?
One of the guys that flashed in those first 3 days was cornerback Tavier Thomas, the guy that the Bucs signed from Houston, who's had a lot of experience in the slot. And when he got here, that's what Todd Bowles and Jason Light said about him is they think he's got an opportunity to work in the slot. And so he'd be competing there with the likes of Christian Izien and the rookie Tyke Smith. But what they're actually doing with him and Tyke Smith is cross-training them at a bunch of positions. So he compared him kind of, maybe not the same caliber player, but kind of like Antoine Winfield in that he can play slot corner, he can play free safety, and he can play strong safety. So they're training both him and Tyke Smith at all three positions, which gives you a lot of flexibility and allows you to cover up when there's injured players and allows you to maybe use some other different packages that might, say, bring Tyke Smith in when you can put him close to the line of scrimmage where he's at his best. And, you tried Antoine Winfield in the slot in 2022, and he was good, but it wasn't his best season. They moved him back to free safety last year, and of course he's a first-team All-Pro. So they're not going to move him around anymore, right?
Right.
They're going to leave him where he's most effective. So they need some other players that can be that versatile and valuable, and so they really love having guys in the secondary that can play multiple positions.
Yeah, and Bowles loves to disguise things. He loves to throw different people in different positions where you never know who's blitzing, who's dropping, he loves to be creative.
Exactly.
The more versatile your players are, the more it frees Coach Bowles up to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and as far as Tyke goes, they're talking about him. I looked it up actually to make sure I was remembering this right. In Antoine Winfield's rookie season in 2020, the big storyline about him was this guy's like a veteran. It's like you wouldn't know this is a rookie. He operates and acts and knows the defense like he's a veteran. I'm not saying Tyke Smith is going to be Antoine Winfield, but they're talking about him in the exact same way that he seems like he's been here for years.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. And then I know that also we've talked a little bit about Yaya and just how excited we are to watch him this season and see what could be on the horizon for a guy who wasn't starting out as a starter last year, earned that role, really flashed. And I just feel like his potential is through the roof this year to really come in as the starter and established and maybe do that first to second year jump.
I got even more excited about him yesterday when I watched In the Current, the newest episode of In the Current, which is a great show every time they do it. But this one, as an aside, you get to see so much behind the scenes stuff about how the draft unfolded for the Bucs, stuff that you've never had access to before. So it was awesome. But they also had a bit about Yaya and his potential and what a great breakout rookie season he had last year. And talking about him this year, Coach said he's just and Yaya said it himself in the video, he's so much farther ahead mentally of where he was a year ago. He has the defense down, essentially. He knows what he's supposed to be doing. Last year at the beginning, he was just winning with brute power. And he still has that, of course. And we actually saw that on display in one rep where I'm not going to name the tackle, but he blew up the tackle pretty badly on one play. They're not in pads yet, so don't get too excited about it.
Yeah, with a grain of salt.
Just Todd Bowles says that Yaya's potential is, in his words, unlimited.
I love that. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to look at Chris Godwin's Bay episode where we show you his hobby and love of photography. And when we come back, we're going to have the one, the only Gerald McCoy with us.
Must be something in the water out here. I don't know what it is.
This year will be better. It's already showing.
Yeah, we got some guys.
OTAs is different. We know Baker's going to be the guy.
Oh, perfect. That's
The
great.
progression from last year to
That's
this year,
delightful.
you could see it.
The more we compete against each other, the better off we'll be when the season starts.
Every single room should have competition going on.
Disturbing the peace, let me over the leash, man. I'm going OD and I came for the feast. I'm too elite, better give me my feet. Still I'm coming in hot, so we bringing the heat. What do you mean? I got a team. No, you was out of my league. 100 degrees.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 3.
I know the city still got my back. Ain't nobody else shut it down like that. You spell my name, better use all caps. Been running this thing and I can't hold back.
Welcome back into Training Camp Report presented by Advent Health. Casey Phillips joined by none other than Gerald McCoy. Gerald, it's so great to have you back here.
It's excellent to be back. Listen, I haven't been back here since I was a player, so being back at Bucs training camp smells right. Definitely smells right.
That's amazing.
Yes.
What does it feel like to walk out here and watch these guys?
I feel like I'm out here raining on myself, man. Listen, if you ain't out here for a long time, you forget what the humidity is like. But this is actually a great training camp weather day. I've had a lot of rough ones. This ain't one of the rougher ones, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, you used to have some 1 p.m.s and some rough
listen,
ones.
I've had some rough training camp weather days.
So what has it been like for you now to switch to the announcing side? And I assume this is part of what's brought you out here today. Tell us, what this has been like for you to make this transition. And, of course, I feel like you still repping your Bucs pretty well as an announcer.
Yeah, of course. It's actually been a great transition, which What a lot of people don't understand is, as a player, when you retire, a lot of the struggle is, what do you do with your time? Well, I was blessed and fortunate enough I didn't have to think about it. I went right into being on the analyst side and stepped into the media realm, and I've really been enjoying it. It's a lot of fun, and it just gives me a bigger platform to be biased towards the Bucs. You know, they're like, hey, Gerald, you can't be biased on TV. I said, y'all hired the wrong guy.
Yeah, I mean,
I am
you
going to be
shouldn't have-
biased.
You
so,
should have said that.
Yes.
Well, and I've loved hearing some of the things you said, which obviously means you've been following them still
Yes,
ever
of
since.
course.
So,
Yeah.
what are the things you're most excited to watch specifically about this defense, of course, coming into this season?
You know what? Vita has been incredible, but I'm excited to see the emergence of the rest of the D-line, man, namely Kalijah. You know, this city and this defense was built around three techniques or under tackles, and that's what, since Warren Sapp has been here, you try and make sure you got a guy like that in the middle. And Warren Sapp was here, then they brought me in, then you bring in Sue, and now Kalijah's here. If he has the year I'm pretty sure he's going to have, this defense is going to go to the next level.
That's a big deal. And then how about, what have you seen from Coach Bowles as both a coordinator and a head coach of what he brings to this defense and the way he sets up a lot of these guys for success?
He's aggressive, and I love aggressive play, and he takes chances, and you never know. You can never relax as an offense because you never know when a blitz is coming. You know, he'll blitz when he's not supposed to, but that's what makes his defenses great. And it's a lot of great leadership on this defense, and his personality as a play caller, you can see it flow through the defense. Tay's always been incredible, obviously, but it's just from Antoine, who he was as a rookie, how he always played, you know, that was passed down from Coach Bowles all the way through the rest of the defense to how Vita's been playing, just how the whole defense as a whole, his play calling and his mindset, you can see it in our defense.
And your guy Jordan Whitehead is back.
Absolutely.
Tell me what excites you about the idea of an Antoine Winfield Jr. here with Jordan Whitehead again, and what that means to a defense, even for you as a defensive lineman, knowing those are the guys that you have back there.
Well, we seen Jordan coming into his own right before he left, but that last year, the year he had with the Jets was freaking incredible. So when we was able to get him back, I'm like, no passing on us. Because all you need is, as a defensive lineman, I used to tell the DBs, all we need him is to hitch. And if we not there, if you make him look and we not there, that's on us. Mm-hmm. We don't need anything else. And when you got guys like back there that can do that, that's more than just cover guys. They come up and hit you too. That's an added plus for a defensive lineman, because you know, if I take on this double team and push the ball outside, or I hold my own and he gets through the gap, I know we got somebody back there that's going to come clean it up.
And now, as much as you're biased towards the Bucs, I have a feeling when they signed a certain quarterback here, there was another bias in that for you. Loving your Sooner, Baker
course.
Mayfield out here. So tell me your thoughts when they brought him in last year, and then what you've seen of the way he's been able to go from this guy that's had to move around so much, change teams so much, and then finds a home here.
Yeah, well, I did a Jim Rome interview last year when we signed him. And one thing I said is I talked to Baker. And one thing people are not paying attention to is Baker told everybody when he was in Cleveland he was injured. And there's a difference in training and rehabbing. He did a lot of rehabbing in Cleveland. And he said, I'm healthy. Give me a year to show what I can be healthy. So when he signed here, I'm like, hey, listen, this is what this guy said, and I know what he is. Because obviously he's a Sooner, so I followed his career. And I knew that Baker was going to be the guy. You know, we had a QB competition last year, but me personally, I knew Baker was the guy. And I knew if he had the opportunity to show who he was, that this city, because I know this city will be pleased and they will love him. But what people don't understand about coming into this year is the confidence and comfort a person can play with when an organization pays you saying, we believe in you, we believe you're the guy. So him knowing that, him knowing this city loves him, this city wants him here, this organization wants him here. If you thought Baker was good last year, just wait until you see now.
Should I be mean and make you make a prediction on the season for how the Bucs are going to do?
Well, one, we're going to four-peat for sure in the South. I said for sure because I mean it. Not really worried about anybody. The NFC is deep. It's loaded. Playoffs is a no-brainer. We're going to make the playoffs. Now, how far we go will be dependent on our health for sure, and just how we gel and mesh throughout the season. And then there's other factors, other teams' health. You know, there might be some dark horse teams that come out of nowhere. But I know for sure we will be in the contention. You're not going to talk about the NFC and who's a Super Bowl contender without bringing us up for sure.
I love it. Well, Gerald, thank you as always for being here. It was so great to get to see you. We got Nickelodeon Day. We got
Yeah, I
back
know.
together football day here with all the teams around the league, and we love watching you do your thing on NFL Network. So thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you. And finally, listen,
Oh,
the
yes.
last time I was here, anytime training camp, off season, whatever, I always brought snow cone truck. So today, since Gerald is back for training camp, there will be a snow cone truck for my guys after practice, because why would I come back without bearing gifts?
That's
So
true.
I love this organization, I love the city, and I love this team. So anytime I can do anything special for these guys and this organization, I do it. I love all of y'all. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We miss you, man. Well, thanks again. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more.
Here we go. Hey, it's another day of football, man. Let's have fun. Let's compete. Let's fly around, man.
Good. We're out. Hughes, here we go, baby.
You know, guys are competing. Everybody's just out there practicing to get better and having fun. So that's something that I love to see.
Here, man, let's keep grinding. Smarter team is a better team. Bucs on three, 1, 2, 3.
Welcome back into Training Camp Report presented by Advent Health. Casey Phillips here with senior writer and editor Scott Smith. To close things out, we're going to start looking at position groups. Earlier this week, we talked a little bit about the idea of starting roles that might be up for grabs. But now I think we're going to get into each position and really talk about how many guys are going to make this roster, what the rotations could look like, the playing time, the snaps. So let's start here with our linebackers. Again, we talked about the fact, Levante David, cool, starter, done, easy. Now, after that, who's your other starter for sure? And then how many are you keeping? How do special teams rules affect that now this year? That this is a group, to me, it's going to be really interesting to see after Levante how all that shakes out.
Yeah, there's 7 on the roster right now, and they generally keep 5. But you said it, special teams, especially with the new kickoff rule, they might be looking for some more bigger bodies. So you could keep an extra linebacker over, say, an extra cornerback or safety. So we'll see how that shakes out. But there's 7 on the roster right now. You see those right there. You talked about Levante. We talked about how he got his vet day. We don't really have to worry about Levante, right?
Yes, that's very
all
accurate.
Levante's trying to do is maintain the standard he's set for himself, and he did it so well last year that I don't have any real fear of him falling off. So obviously the Buccaneers made it a priority to re-sign him in the offseason, so they feel the same way, right? And then we talked about KJ Britt, and I'll say this, I don't think we've talked enough about KJ Britt.
I agree.
And I'm not going to share confidences or anything, but from what I hear in the building, I don't think we were excited enough about KJ coming into this. Like, is he in a position battle? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think
It's
they've
his to
been really
lose.
excited about what he's done.
Yeah, that's great.
I think by the end of this camp, KJ Britt's going to be one of the biggest storylines that we've been following, just because.
Yeah.
And we'll see in the preseason games if he backs that up. I don't know how much he'll play as the presumed starter, but I don't think we've talked about KJ enough.
I agree, and I think KJ, of course, there's the on-the-field stuff, but he is such a vocal leader.
Exactly.
It's incredible, and I think that what I love is that he was a vocal leader even when he wasn't on the field, even
Right.
before he got those starting opportunities, that they always said he was the guy with the motor at practice, getting everyone fired up, talking trash, talking instructions, like whatever it is, he is the vocal guy, which I think is such a great compliment to Levante, who we know incredible leader,
Right.
typically not the
By
vocal
example,
leader.
right.
Yes, although you do know if Levante says something,
Yeah, everybody listens.
Lord have
It's
mercy,
like
you better
Tony
listen.
Dungy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that that's a really great compliment to him, to have that guy right in the middle that you know is going to be loud, is going to talk, is going to communicate. I think that he and Levante do pair very well together.
Yeah.
But yeah, who are your guys you're looking at for after the two of them?
Yeah,
maybe?
and now that leadership for KJ is just going to come out and blossom.
Right.
After that, you got Servassier Dennis, who was a 5th-round draft pick last year. They talked a little bit about it before the season last year, that they might have some packages for him because he has a really good pass rush ability. He's good in coverage. And you saw a little bit late in the season of a little bit of mixing him and KJ in there. I'm not sure KJ is going to come off the field now if he gets that starting job. So Coach said again yesterday, or I guess Friday, that Servassier, they're going to have some stuff for him. They're going to get him on the field in part because of his pass rush ability. So that's kind of exciting. But he's also definitely a core member of special teams. So
For sure.
I don't really feel like his roster spot's in any jeopardy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know that some other guys, we've had J.J. Russell around for a little bit. He's gotten some experience here and there. But then you've got some guys that people probably don't really know their names as well.
Yeah.
How much of a chance do you feel like these guys have of
Right.
sticking around versus maybe being practice squad additions?
So JJ's been on and off the practice squad. He's played in about 13 games. He even got to start a game last year, had a sack. So he's got some starting experience. So he held his own. So the Bucs have seen that, so that's helpful. And then the last two guys are both undrafted rookies this year. Kalen DeLoach, we have talked a little bit from Florida State, just because it's the whole undersized linebacker from Florida State thing. The thing about Kalen is he played a lot of special teams in Florida State. Sometimes the star players that come in here, even if they're undrafted, weren't necessarily special teamers because they were star players on their teams. But he played a lot of teams. And the Bucs have seen that on tape, and they know he can do that, and they think he can do that at this level. So that will be, obviously, that's always extremely helpful for a young player trying to make the roster. So that's good news for him. And then Antonio Greer, he's another undrafted free agent, and he had a pick the other day in practice. It was a really nice play. He dropped, you know, how that middle linebacker in the Tampa 2 defense, if they're playing cover 2, that guy has to drop down the middle, and he did that, and he made a really nice leaping interception, so that's good for him. And then I guess the last guy we haven't mentioned is Vi Jones, who the Buccaneers signed in the middle of last season, was mostly on the practice squad. And I admit I don't know a ton about Vi Jones except this: he's got good bloodlines. His brother is Zay Jones, who's now with the Jaguars, the wide receiver. His father, Robert Jones, played 10 seasons in the league and won 3 Super Bowls with the Cowboys.
Wow.
And his uncle is Jeff Blake, the former quarterback with the huge arm.
Wow.
So yeah, he's got the bloodlines.
Yeah, he was born to do this.
Yeah, so
That's pretty incredible.
It's an intriguing group of players, and since the Buccaneers could conceivably go deeper at that position, there's a good chance that most of these guys will make the team.
That's pretty interesting.
Yep.
And then finally, for you, looking at this inside linebacker group, what are the things that you feel like are some of the characteristics, separate from special teams or any of that just a Todd Bowles defense asks of the inside linebacker position?
Well, I think they'll play to their strengths. Like when we had Devin White here, he was a good pass rusher, especially right up the middle. So they used him to rush the passer and didn't use Levante that much in that role, right? We didn't see Levante blitzing a lot. He did a little bit more last year and had a couple sacks, and he's had a lot of sacks in his career for an inside linebacker. But I think they'll play to those strengths, like we talked about with Servassier Dennis. He in college was a very good pass rusher. So I mean, ideally, you get 2 guys, you keep them on the field for 100% of the snaps, and they're good at both, you know, coming up and stopping the run and also dropping into coverage. So we'll see if any of these guys beyond Levante are that type of complete player.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us on this edition of Training Camp Report presented by Advent Health. Thank you so much for being with us. We will be back here tomorrow morning with more, so we'll see you then.